We're hearing AB 652, product safety, juvenile products, chemicals, perfluoroalkyl and polyfluoroalkyl substances.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. This is a bill about PFAS, which is used, unfortunately, in a lot of children's products. Now, I have to tell you that sometimes in the legislature we find things out about our own lives that are distressing, and that's what's happened to me in this case. As the mom of a 7-year-old, I had no idea that for her entire life, I've probably been putting her in children's clothing and baby clothing, putting her on changing mats that were contaminated with a known carcinogenic material, PFAS, for no good reason. There's no reason at all that these materials should be used, I believe, anywhere, but certainly not in children's clothing and in children's toys. This bill would follow the lead taken by an Assembly Member Bloom's bill from a few years ago about flame retardant chemicals used in children's products, and say that in California, we really want our constituents to know that if they're buying baby products and children's products in California, we have done our best to make sure that those items are free of cancer-causing additives. Now, another problem that I do want to bring up with the PFAS is that we've all been aware of, besides the fact that they are now being detected in human blood and that we know that they are endocrine disruptors and carcinogenic, is that it's also being found in large amounts in water. I had a meeting just yesterday with the Metropolitan Water District who's saying that their biggest concern right now is not drought. Their biggest concern is the amount of contaminants and emerging contaminants they're finding in the water. Now, the manufacturers and the oppositions may come on today and talk to you about how important these chemicals are. I'm not really sure what they're going to say, but I would love for someone to ask them, as the ones who are responsible for polluting our water with these materials, how much they're going to pay our water districts so that our ratepayers don't have to pay to clean these chemicals out of water, which also are leaching out of the same clothing through when we wash our clothing. We know that they're coming off in the fibers and getting into our groundwater and our water supply. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions and respectfully request an aye vote. Oh, and one other thing I want to mention. We are willing to amend the bill as we move forward so that it's narrowed down to materials that don't include electronics and medical supplies.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Next, we have some witnesses in support in the witness video conference room. So can we have that turned on? And then we'll hear from Bill Alliard of the Environmental Working Group. May take a minute to get it started. Okay, go ahead. They just need to start speaking, Mr. Chair, and it comes up. Yeah, just start speaking.
Dr. Andrews should be on the phone.
Yes, but we first want to hear from Bill Alliard.
Okay.
Bill?
Okay, I'm Bill Alliard, Government Affairs Director for Environmental Working Group in California. I'm going to address the opposition's arguments, and Dr. David Andrews will be addressing the science. Thank you for allowing me to speak. The claim that PFAS chemicals be addressed individually has already been definitively decided by the Department of Toxic Substances in their working paper on PFAS and different consumer products. If AB 652 banned, for example, 5 individual forms of PFAS in juvenile products, the industry would simply create 5 more slightly different versions of the chemicals to put on their products. The opposition has raised concern about the definition of juvenile products, but as the author acknowledged in her statement, we are imminently prepared to appropriately narrow that definition. The opponents say that AB 652 is not needed because DTSC's Safer Consumer Products Program will get to these products sooner than later, and also that Senator Allen has introduced SB 502, which has some features meant to make the program more efficient. 3 things. SB 502 is an important bill, but is not a silver bullet that fixes all the program's issues of timeliness, and that bill may not even make it to the governor for signature. But more importantly, although DTSC recently included children's products in a draft work plan, they will not necessarily adopt that category and do a final work plan. And even if they do, the public in this legislature would likely wait until the next decade to see any action. Lastly, the opponents raise the specter of increased third-party lawsuits if this bill became law. I note that some of the very opponents of AB 652 supported Prop 64 back in the year 2004, which put a major chilling effect on third-party lawsuits. The main provision of that law prohibits any person other than the Attorney General and local public prosecutors from bringing a lawsuit for unfair competition unless that person has personally suffered injury and lost money or property. This high hurdle has worked per the intent of those who brought the measure to the ballot in 2004. In conclusion, we cannot wait for DTSC to do something about this problem. By passing AB 652 now, our children will have less health impacts down the road. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Andrews, you're on the phone. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Quirk, members of the committee, Assemblymember Friedman for introducing this bill. My name is David Andrews. I'm a senior scientist at Environmental Working Group, and I have a PhD in chemistry. I have published numerous reports and worked on per and polyfluoroalkyl, or PFAS, contamination maps. I've also been a co-author on 5 peer-reviewed publications regarding PFAS occurrence and health risks. Contamination from PFAS is a national public and environmental health emergency, and urgent action is needed to reduce and eliminate exposure as much as possible. Research studies have indicated that humans, both adults and children, are susceptible to numerous harms from exposure to PFAS. Children are particularly vulnerable to PFAS impacts to the immune system, including the reduced effectiveness of vaccines and harm during critical periods of development. California Department of Toxic Substances Control Safer Consumer Products program has already confirmed that PFAS are a threat to health. They have determined that PFAS should be regulated as an entire class, not just chemical by chemical, as the opposition has suggested. This includes the fluoropolymers and the short-chain replacement chemicals that number in the hundreds to thousands. It is because of the urgent health priority of protecting children that EWG is proud to sponsor AB 652 that will eliminate the unnecessary and potentially harmful use of PFAS in children's products. These products lead to exposure through contact with the skin and inhalation of dust. PFAS are called forever chemicals because they do not break apart in the environment or in people. These are not chemicals that belong in our children. Many PFAS accumulate in blood. These chemicals are detected in nearly every single person in the country, including infants. Passing AB 652 is an important step forward in reducing unnecessary exposure to children and infants and would put California in the lead of protecting our children. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, and thank you for both authors for keeping to the time periods. Excuse me, both witnesses. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak in support of this bill? And there doesn't seem to be. Anyone in the video conference room? If so, speak up now. There being none, or we then will hear from the opposition. Oh, we do have someone speaking remotely. Thank you. Please go ahead, Ms. Little.
Yes, thank you. Additional supporters of AB 652 include Breast Cancer Prevention Partners in strong support, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, District 9, the California Municipal Utilities Association, California Nurses Association, Consumer Federation of California, Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts, CalPERG, Clean Water Action, Physicians for Social Responsibility, San Francisco, the American Academy of Pediatrics, California, the Center for Friends Committee on Legislation of California, and Environment California. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Little. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak remotely to the video? Yes. Oh, no. Okay. Then, where are we? We're now going to hear from the opposition, and there are two witnesses. First, I'd like to hear from Tim Shestek on behalf of the American Chemistry Council. Please proceed.
Good morning, Dr. Quirk. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Tim Shestek with the American Chemistry Council. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. And let me first say I do appreciate the comments by Assemblymember Friedman and the sponsors of the bill to try to work on a more narrowing of the definitions around a juvenile product. As we have stated, there are some very widespread uses of some of these chemistries. They do play a critical role in a variety of different applications: smartphones, tablets, medical devices, packaging for pharmaceuticals. So we do believe that a more clearly defined definition of juvenile products will be important to avoid potential unintended consequences. I do want to also make a quick comment about DTSD's program. As it was mentioned by Mr. Alio, the department has identified children's products as part of its updated 2021-2023 work plan. Senator Allen also is moving SB 502, a bill that nearly crossed the finish line last session, that will provide some new tools for the department to efficiently identify and address some unsafe chemical ingredients in everyday products. And frankly, we do believe that venue does provide an opportunity to talk about issues around scope, impacted products, and any potential unintended impacts to ensure that those are appropriately addressed. So as this bill moves forward, we do look forward to working with the sponsors and the author to try to address some of the issues that we've identified. And again, appreciate the opportunity to testify today. Thank you.
Very good. We'll now hear from Mr. Jay West on behalf of the American Chemistry Council as well. Is it Dr. West? Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Court. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So thank you, Chair and members of the committee, for the opportunity to speak in opposition to AB 652 on behalf of the American Chemistry Council's Performance Fluoropolymer Partnership. We oppose the bill because of the overly broad definitions of PFAS in juvenile products. On PFAS, as you have heard from the sponsors, the bill would treat all PFAS as a single substance when it is actually a large, diverse group of compounds. That has been recognized by the Environmental Council of the States, the Vermont Department of Environmental Conservation, and a recent workshop convened by the National Academy of Sciences. Fluoropolymers specifically are a subclass of PFAS that are large, stable, insoluble molecules, and they don't raise concerns about degradation and movement between environmental media like some of the smaller legacy chemicals. They are neither bioavailable nor bioaccumulative, and they are not PFOA or PFOS, and they do not transform into PFOA or PFOS in the environment. On juvenile products, the bill would ban pediatric medical devices that include fluoropolymers and are already approved by FDA, when in fact fluoropolymers have been used safely in medical devices for over 30 years. They impart desired qualities like lightness, elasticity, and stability, and their extremely low chemical reactivity reduces the body's reaction to reject foreign materials. They also help prevent microorganisms from colonizing surgical instruments, stents, catheters, medical filters, and tubing, which could potentially lead to infections and other complications. Also, the bill would ban many juvenile electronic devices with insulated wires, printed circuit boards, or touchscreens, things like a child's learning toy, a baby monitor, a reading tablet, or a handheld gaming device. They're used in those devices because they're highly resistant to temperature and have superior electrical properties. And they're used in touchscreen films to prevent damage from moisture.
Okay, your time is up. And, you know, you really have to listen to the testimony. You just can't come with a something you've made up ahead of time and read it. Listen to the testimony. These, you spent 2 minutes talking about things that the author has already conceded on. I've heard enough, and you did go to your 2 minutes. But please, listen to
My
what's being
apologies,
said.
sir. I was reading for the benefit of the other committee members, and I didn't mean to waste your time.
The author already
Respectfully, I
said
apologize.
this, that they were not included. The committee members heard this. You could have at least acknowledged that they were already excluded and left it there and give us something more substantial. Thank you. Now, as far as the discussion about DTSC and green chemistry taking this on, this issue first came to the committee 4 years ago. There's been no progress since. 4 years is 4 years too long. Second, DTSC has said that all of these chemicals that we talk about that would be in juvenile products should be treated as a class. That's something we didn't know 4 years ago. There was a big discussion about the various types and should they be considered differently. There was not a consensus on that. That consensus has been reached. They should be treated as a class. All right. Any questions? Yes. Christina Garcia.
Thank you. Just a short comment. I want to thank the author for working on this, on the PFAS and the class issue. We know that the short chains behave much like the long chains as they break down. And so when we did AB 756, we started to take that step forward to hold these as a class. And I think the lesson here is that we don't know everything that's in the future. We know that these are probably going to be problems, and so we should be proactive. And so thank you for your work on this bill.
Very good. Madam Rebecca Bauer-Cahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank the author for the bill. Like you, many of the things I find out in this committee specifically make me very freaked out as a mother. There's only so much we can do, so the government has to help, and I guess that's us. So I appreciate this. I appreciate a couple of things. One is, I started on this committee 2 years ago, really excited about the green chemistry department and their work. We also, as parents, bought everything without BPA because we knew BPA was bad, and then we learned BPS is just as bad, and it turns out we've been letting our kids use that. So there is, the green chemistry division is really important in ensuring we don't make those mistakes of creating more dangerous alternatives. But to the chair's point, the green chemistry division has been around for over a decade and made 3 rules. 3 rules. So clearly they're not moving fast enough, and it's our obligation to protect Californians where they are failing. So we started our day working on DTSC. We're going to get there, but for now, I appreciate your work. I would like to understand why, a lot of time was spent in the opposition talking about the products that you have already conceded you will eliminate, so we don't need to worry about medical devices that I think all of us think medical devices, including the author, should be available. So for the remaining products, the clothing, the bassinets, the things we're putting our children in, why are these even in there?
Well, I would contend they shouldn't be,
Okay.
full stop. But they're typically put in as a stain-resistant device. It's similar to why they use Teflon. Stains come off easier. So the manufacturers have decided that for that convenience, you are willing to risk the health of your child. And I would contend that if we showed parents the evidence of the chemicals, that there even are this array of chemicals on these products, they'd be horrified that we allow it. I had no idea that these were allowed. You've got a baby chewing on the side of the bassinet. They're chewing on PFAS. That was put there just so you could wipe it clean a little bit easier. I'd take the stain over the toxic exposure any day of the week.
Thank you. Yes, and I think that's a really important point to make, which is my kids' clothes were always stained no matter what they were putting on them, so I'll take the stains. Mm-hmm. But, it's just incumbent upon us that we don't replace it with another dangerous alternative, because that is always my fear in these bills. But obviously, I think this is critical work, and I look forward to supporting it.
Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Marisucci.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward as a parent, and appreciate it if you can add me as a co-author. Thank you.
We'd be honored to.
Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? All right, I think we've got it done. Let's see, there was an early motion and a second, so we can ask for a close. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that you were able to open the phone lines for public testimony.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea. Please, phone lines for public testimony, and thank you.
Thank you. And if anyone has comment at this time, press 1 then 0 at this time. An AT&T specialist will provide you with your line number, which you'll be identified with. We'll first go to line 85. Just one moment, please, while we open up your line here. Line 85, you're open. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hello. Lizette Van Vliet for Breast Cancer Prevention Partners. Army 2 was already taken earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go next to line 64. Line 64, you're open.
Good morning, Chair and members. Priscilla Kidos on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco and California Product Stewardship Council in support. Thank you.
We will go next to line 62.
Good afternoon, excuse me, good morning, Chair and members. Adam Regley with the California Chamber of Commerce. Want to just thank the author for agreeing to narrow the definition. That was our primary opposition, so we look forward to working with the author, and thank you.
We will go to line 88. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair and members, John Winger on behalf of the Advanced Medical Technology Association, ABAMED. Appreciate the author's comments about narrowing the definition. We have not seen the amendments yet, and we'll be reviewing them, but currently do have an oppose on the bill. Thank you.
We'll go next to line 100. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Kathy Lynch representing the California Language Teachers Association and strong support. Thank you.
Line 97.
Thank you, Chair and members. This is Lauren Aguilar on behalf of the Juvenile Products Manufacturers Association. We as well would like to thank the author for the upcoming amendments. And we still have a few concerns, but look forward to working with the author in the next committee.
Next is line 48. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, members, Justin Milan here on behalf of the Environmental Health Administrators with particular concern over the drinking water problems and also the Clean Seas Lobby Coalition because this stuff is ending up in our oceans as well. We urge an aye vote. Thank you.
And as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you do have comments at this time, press 1 then 0 on your touch tone phone. We will go to line 95.
Dawn Kepke, McHugh Kepke and Associates on behalf of the California Manufacturers and Technology Association and Chemical Industry Council of California. While we currently have an opposed position on the bill, we do look forward to reviewing the amendments and we'll be happy to continue to work with the author. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have no one else in queue at this time.
Very good. So I was a little premature, but now you can close.
I think that this is really, really important for our children and for our future, and I hope that the industry takes it as a signal to look at a wider range of products for adults as well. With that, I respectfully request an aye vote. Thank you.
I really appreciate your attention, Assemblymember Friedman, to these issues, and you're going to have another bill for us later that I'll be anxious to see as well. So thank you for that. And I know that you'll be working with the opposition to perhaps refine the bills. And you've said yes, and I really appreciate it. And now we can have Madam Secretary call the roll.
This is item 4, AB 652, Friedman. The motion is do pass to the floor. Quirk?
Aye.
Quirk, aye. Smith?
I will be opposed until I see the language of your changes for the amendments. I look forward to supporting it with those changes when I read them.
Smith, no. Arambula? Bauer-Cahan? Aye. Bauer-Cahan, aye. Daly? Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Holden? Holden, aye. Mathis? Mathis is not voting. Muratucci? Muratucci, aye. We have 5 votes, so it's.
All right, thank you very
Thank you,
much,
Mr. Chair.
Assemblymember.